I could really go for some steak for dinner tonight. I think I should go check in the biodome and see if we have anything that would go well with it. Let's go. Okay, let's check it out. We've got micro lettuce, broccoli, thyme. I wonder if we could do something with this micro basil. Let's try it out. For dinner tonight, I'm going to make a micro basil chimichurri sauce to go along with my steaks. If you're unfamiliar with what a chimichurri sauce is, it's a sauce that originates in South America, typically places like Argentina, and it uses fresh herbs, typically cilantro or parsley, and it creates a beautiful sauce with olive oil and a few other spices in it. It's a very simple sauce to make, but it will really help elevate the flavors of any steak if you're looking for something fun to mix things up. But we're going to try it with micro basil and see how that comes out. Let's go ahead and get started with these steaks. First thing you want to do for any good steak is you're going to pat them dry. You want to get any and all of that excess moisture off of your steaks so that the salt can really penetrate into the steak. So as you can see, we have our infused salt over here on this side with our parsley in it, and then we have our normal salt over here on the other side, and we're going to season each of these steaks with one of these salts. And then we're going to add black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, but let's go ahead and season up these steaks. Then we're going to take our steaks and we're going to toss them in an oven or an air fryer at 225 or 250 degrees, depending on what you're looking for out of the steaks, how quickly you want them to be done. For this thickness, we'll probably be back in an hour to 2 hours at this point for them to fully cook through. To get to a nice medium rare, and then we'll sear them off afterwards. This is called the reverse sear method that we're using. While we're making these steaks, I decided to do one more thing. I am going to try a chimichurri sauce, but instead of using fresh parsley or cilantro like is standard within Argentinian cuisine, we're going to use micro basil instead. So I'm going to take our micro basil. We're going to need olive oil, dried parsley, black pepper, red pepper flakes, and oregano in order to make a nice chimichurri sauce. So we'll see how this turns out with basil, especially with the micro basil. This will be a way to supercharge the nutritional content of your chimichurri sauce. Next, we'll add our dried parsley. Typically, you would use fresh parsley, but we're going to make micro basil the star of this show. I like a pretty good amount of heat, so we're going to add in a good bit of these red chili flakes, some black pepper, and finally, dried oregano. Right now, we don't do dried oregano at BioDome, but we'll consider doing it in the future. And then we have to add olive oil, but you want to add olive oil sort of a little bit at a time until it comes to the right consistency. So we'll work on this, and we'll see how it goes, and add olive oil as needed. Okay. That is not enough olive oil, so we'll add in a little bit more, but we're pretty close to the right consistency. Okay, that's wonderful right there. That is a great consistency for our chimichurri sauce. So we're going to see how the basil chimichurri turns out. As you can see, we have our two beautiful steaks that came out of the oven. We went low and slow for about an hour and a half, and then we seared them off real high, real fast at the very end of the cook to get a nice crust on the outside. But that's not what you came for. You came to see what these things look like on the inside. And that is a perfect medium rare. Okay, great. We now have our micro basil chimichurri sauce, and we're gonna try it on a little piece of steak here. So we've got our fresh steak, chimichurri, micro basil version. That's absolutely amazing. Great twist on a standard chimichurri. I think anyone who's looking for a fun way to spice up a steak, likes basil flavor, definitely give this a try. That chimichurri sauce turned out so well. I highly recommend trying out this variant of chimichurri sauce using micro basil instead of parsley or cilantro, especially if you're like people in my family who think that cilantro tastes a little bit like soap. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you like and subscribe to help us grow as a channel. And if you're in the South Jersey or Philadelphia area, swing by the warehouse in Pennsauken. We'd be happy to have you, let you see the Biodome in person yourself, and buy some fresh tomatoes, herbs, or microgreens that we have available. Thank you, and keep growing.